times, but we just wanted to spend a little time this morning on talking about the despair of addiction. You know, a lot of times, especially ones who don't know about addiction, haven't been in it themselves and have not, which is good, by the way, have not experienced addiction to where it harmed their life, to put them in such despair. They think, and you may think with your children and grandchildren, that they're having fun. And yes, as I said earlier in last class, it is a party in the beginning. It's fun doing drugs. You think you're having a lot of fun. It's a party. I think the years of 18, 19, and 20, it was great. It was great. I was never going to come down from that high. But then the early 20s and mid-20s set in, and then the despair. And this, as I explained in the previous class, this was at the end of 15 years of addiction when I kidnapped this policeman, made him give me a ride, trying to make my getaway. I was looking at it like he was just doing his duty to give me a ride, but the city of Lake Park and state of Florida didn't think that. But when I give this, I go into a prison, or I think the last time I spoke and used this article, it was in a juvenile detention center. And every time I give that talk, they go, when they're locked up, the inmates, man, he's cool. Man, he's something else. Kidnapped a cop, and I'm quick to tell them, it was suicide by cop. I just wanted to end it all the loss, all the despair. We were talking a little bit about the guilt in the class hour. I just had enough. Nothing satisfied me in life. Everything was bad and it was never going to get better. I was hoping when I pulled that gun that they would blow my head off. I thank God they didn't now, but I couldn't see beyond the guilt and the despair and the hopelessness, had no hope. You know, the most dangerous, because I was in prison and I met people who had no hope of ever getting out. They're the most dangerous people to be around that have no hope. You never want to get in an argument with a guy in prison that has no hope of ever getting out. He doesn't have any incentive to do right and be good. No hope. And I was there and wanted to just end it all. There's that picture again. I just can't believe it. When I look in my eye, I see nothing but death. Nothing but death. Had just total despair. Had 2 children. My children at this time, my son is 4 years old and my daughter's 9. Had everything to live for. My father couldn't understand it, being of that greatest generation that went off to war and won it. And I'm sitting across the table from him, telling him, I want to kill myself. I just don't want to live anymore. He couldn't understand it. Couldn't understand it. Oh, the despair. You just can't get out of it. You can't see beyond it. You can't take enough drug. I got to the point that I had to take so many drugs that I just passed out. And it still wouldn't take care of the despair that I felt. You know, I've met a lot of people reaching out to addicts for 25, a little over years. I've met a lot of people that have done a lot more drugs, made a lot more money than me, doing drugs and selling drugs. Maybe had a better time, did more, but I've not met too many, if any, that had fallen to the deep despair that I fell into of not wanting to live. Was suicidal. There were other times when I tried to kill myself. There's people, and I was in between life and in between death. I made the decision that I wanted to kill myself, so really I was no longer living any quality of life, but I hadn't killed myself yet. It's a terrible place to know, and I remember it. That's at the time that I gave up at the end. They brought me the drugs. I asked for the drug methadone, and they brought it to me once they found out that it would knock me out. And I didn't know if they would shoot me at that point. But when you think of just no hope, no hope.